The Minnesota Vikings have some big free agent decisions to make, and low-key defensive end could be one of the biggest changes. There could be a lot of overhaul on the edge for the Minnesota Vikings here, as captain, heart and soul of the defense, Everson Griffen, was able to avoid his restructured contract as currently a free agent, as well as versatile former 7th-round pick Stephen Weatherly is set to test free agent waters as well. So what's going to happen? Will both be back? Probably not. Will one be back? If so, which one? But is there a scenario, or is there a scenario where neither could be back? Question mark. Well, it's not an insane proposition given the rise of Afadio Denebo and the Vikings 2020 cap situation, but let's get into it today. Start off with Everson Griffen. So first off, I want him back. We did a video on him a couple weeks ago talking about how Everson, even at 32 years old, I think he still has a lot left in this tank besides, like we mentioned, being a true leader and the heart and soul of this defense. Had a great comeback season in 2019, 70 pressures, which is second on the team. I think it was 5th overall in the league. Don't quote me on that. I also put up 11 sacks and an overall PFF grade of 76, and just phenomenal. And it was great that he took a pay cut last offseason to sort of regroup and find his groove yet again, stay in the fold here in Minnesota. And now, since he hit those statistical plateaus, avoided the rest of his deal, so now he gets to test free agency. So he set himself up for a nice last little payday here. And I want him back. The team seems to want him back. Everson certainly seems to want to be here as well. But, I mean, if another team comes in and offers Everson, say, $10 million a year, $11 million a year, and the Vikings only want to go a maximum of $8 million, well, there can be an impasse. Well, that could be bit of a conflict there. Vikings need to be tied with the purse strings for 2020, and you can't really fault Everson, where of course he wants to be here, of course he wants to leave a legacy here in purple, love to stay on one team, his family is rooted here, etc. But also, I mean, an extra $3-4 million is an extra $3-4 million, so you can't really fault him there. And it may be a spot where they just end up mutually parting ways, and really no faults on either side. And then there's Stephen Weatherly, so former 7th-round pick out of Vanderbilt, where he took the route from practice squad to special teams guy to rotational player to spot starter for Everson in 2018 when he missed those handful of games, and he's been phenomenal. Last year, 31 pressures, 5 sacks, playing a combination of edge rusher and defensive interior. Now, if you look, his PFF grade is relatively low, but it is more because he's when he was kicking inside, wasn't really his natural position, but he was doing a solid for the team because the Vikings didn't address losing Sheldon Richardson in free agency. So Stephen Weatherly kicking inside on third down didn't necessarily grade out as well as he possibly could have, but he still can bring it off the edge. And the fact that his versatility, it's really big, as well as being a team first guy, I think that his free agent market could be pretty damn decent. And it's a passer and get the passer league, and I wouldn't be shocked if Stephen Weatherly's free agent market ends up north of $8 million a year, just due to his age as well as potential. Obviously the Vikings like him, but I mean, $8 million a year, probably not. If we're talking about 5 or 6, I think we could have a conversation. But like we mentioned, every single peso has to count this year. So Stephen Weatherly may be out of reach for the Vikings as well. So could there be a scenario where the Vikings let both Everson and Weatherly walk and insert upstart Afadio Denebo as a starter? I certainly could see it, because the Vikings do need to save some cap now to throw it at Anthony Harris, as well as maybe Mac Alexander, potentially Trey Waynes as well. And, is it a game? Yes. Afadi was phenomenal in rotational duty this year, but would he be ready for the grind of a full-time starting job? It's TBD. I would certainly bet on the man from Northwestern, but I could see a lot of people's concern out there, especially depth beyond Afadi. I mean, even though Andre Patterson has been phenomenal at developing edge talent, I mean, look at Stephen Weatherly, look at Tayshaun Bauer to a degree, look at Afadio Denebo, obviously, but I mean, who else is there? I mean, could Hercules Mataafa, didn't really work out at D-tackle, could he kick back out to DN? Certainly could be a proposition. What about recent former Buffalo Bill signee Eddie Yarbrough? Could he be in the mix? What about practice squad UAB 6'8", all of them, Stacey Keeley? How about that? Or how about rookie TBD? Right. So I certainly understand that you're letting captain, heart and soul, Everson Griffen go, as well as a very solid upstart young guy in Steve Weatherly, and then you're just plopping in Afadio across from Danielle Hunter. It's a leap of faith. certainly is. But if the Vikings do want to go ultra cheap at the end, let Everson and Weatherly walk, I would certainly understand, and I think it could be worth the gamble. But your thoughts, Viking going ultra cheap at defensive end, let us know in the comment section below. Also, subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you want to support the work, pull us up in the Venmo. Plus, give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skol, production value.